All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik was tapped by President Trump to become the US's ambassador at the United Nations. She had to go to a Senate confirmation hearing, and she had a tough exchange with Representative Chris Van Hollen from Maryland, a Democrat. Let's take a listen to that discussion.
It was a very simple question. I just asking you if you agree with the statement that in order to achieve long-term peace and stability in the Middle East, that we have to secure the human rights and rights of self-determination for both Israelis and Palestinians. That's a yes or no?
I support human rights for all, and I think it's a disgrace that Hamas and Hezbollah have stripped human rights of the Palestinian people, and we need to ensure that we are standing up for human rights, and Israel is standing up for human rights. It is a beacon of human rights in the region.
We agree with that.
I like how she's able to answer long answers and complex answers to when he goes, it's a yes or no question. It's not a yes or no question. There's complexities involved, Senator Van Hollen. There's complexities, and it's important to not reduce things to yes or no questions. Good on you, Elise Stefanik, for pushing back on that.
I asked you in my office also about whether Palestinians have the right of self-determination. My understanding was you said yes. Do you have a different answer today?
That was not the direct question that we discussed. I said the Palestinian people...
You believe that Palestinians have the right of self-determination?
I believe the Palestinian people deserve so much better than the failures that they've had from terrorist leadership.
It's just a pretty simple...
Self-determination means that there should be a Palestine on the land of Israel. And Elise Stefanik is like, listen, these people deserve a decent life, but that doesn't mean that they have national rights on somebody else's land. So he's like, it's a pretty simple question. I love how he reduces like 3,500 years of history and a conflict of 100 years into like a simple question. Do they deserve a state of their own on somebody else's land? No. And there's a big history around that. It's not a yes or no question, but they certainly deserve rights and decencies somewhere else, maybe in the other Arab countries, maybe somewhere else, but certainly not on other people's land.
And I believe we need peace in the region. Of course, they deserve human rights.
So
I want to ensure that
human rights, yes, not national rights on somebody else's land.
Number one, we bring the hostages home.
So do all of us. Representative Stefanik, let me just ask you. I have 30 seconds left. I'm rarely surprised by answers in my office, but I did ask you whether you subscribe to the views of Finance Minister Smotrich.
Who? I'm sorry,
Smotrich. This is the Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich and the former National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, who believe that Israel has a biblical right to the entire West Bank. And in that conversation, you told me that, yes, you shared that view. Is that your view today?
Yes.
Okay. I think when it comes to this very difficult issue, if the president is going to succeed at bringing peace and stability to the Middle East, we're going to have to look at the UN Security Council resolutions.
We're going to have to look at the UN Security Council resolutions instead of the Bible. Like there's the progressive Bible. That's the UN, right? That's where we're going to look for truth. These guys, that's a Johnny-come-lately organization from 1947, whenever it was founded. That's going to determine the truth. It has a record of anti-Semitism. That's going to be the arbiter of truth, but the Bible is not. It's not a serious thing. Van Hollen, Senator Van Hollen, with all due respect, that was really a very weak way to deal with our region. Also, by the way, how much do you think that our region respects the United Nations? Our region, not just Jews, respect Abraham. We respect Allah. We respect God. We respect tradition. We respect faith. We respect history, not just the United Nations. That's like a liberal, progressive Bible. And I think that if you want to deal with our region, you have to deal with the way we think around here.
Not just the ones on Lebanon, which we should enforce, but other UN Security Council resolutions. And it's going to be very difficult to achieve that if you continue to hold the view that you just expressed, which is a view that was not held by the founders of the State of Israel, who were secular Zionists, not religious Zionists. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So Van Hollen just co-opted Ben-Gurion into his theory that the United Nations is the final arbiter of borders? Do you know the history of Ben-Gurion. He was a Bible lover. He believed that the sources of rights for the Jewish people in the land of Israel emanated from the Bible. He was not an orthodox man. He maybe didn't believe in God like I do, but he certainly believed in the Bible. And to finish off your testimony, Senator, by saying that you're going to explain that Israel should abide by the UN because the founders of Israel didn't believe in the Bible, I'm sorry. That is simply not true, and it's simply not correct, and it's simply very weak. Moreover, let me add one more thing, Senator Van Hollen. The UN model of bringing peace to the Middle East has failed miserably. UN organizations are part of the jihad, like UNRWA, and President Trump is right to defund them. And I think that your vision for future peace in the Middle East, it's a failure. It has been a failure. It will be a failure. And I'm glad that you're not the one in power right now. Mark Levin is a famous American show host, commentator, author of 7 books, and he actually watched this debate between Stefanik and Van Hollen, and he had what to add. Let's take a listen.
So he asks her, you know, you've got these 2 right-wing members, or one no longer, of the Netanyahu government. They talk about the biblical rights to the West Bank. They talk about the biblical right to Judea and Samaria. Folks, this is the heart of Judaism. Judea and Samaria, and of course now Jerusalem. The birth of Judaism occurred in Judea. That's where it occurred. And they're supposed to give that, pretend it's the West Bank of Jordan, and give it to the Palestinians who came up with that name. These are Arabs who lived in Jordan, who came up with the name Palestinians in 1965 after Arafat thought it would be a great idea to give it a big biblical connotation. You won't find these Palestinians anywhere in anybody's Bible because they didn't exist. And so when you have a United States Senator...
Except for one Bible, which is the UN Bible, right? The Van Hollen, he's a believer in the God of the United Nations. That's his religion. So that's his Bible. He doesn't care about anybody's Bible, not the Christian, not the Muslim, and not the Jewish Bible. He doesn't care about that. He thinks that these guys are the arbiters of reality, and that's why he's so detached.
Like this from Maryland, a Democrat Islamist. Do you agree with these ministers in the Netanyahu government? That the Israelis have a biblical claim to the West Bank? The way he asks the question demonstrates the hostility he has to the state of Israel and the Jewish people.
That's right.
There's not another people on the face of the earth, certainly not minority people, where their indigenous homelands are called somebody else's West Bank or East Bank, or where the people who live there and want to further populate it are called settlers. Are the Native Americans settlers in their own land in this country? Of course not. Are the Native Alaskans, what we used to call Eskimos, are they settlers in Alaska? Of course not. But the Jews in Judea and Samaria, settlers, and we got to continue to negotiate limits to how much they can settle in their own land. This is the idiocy that's taking place.
Thank you very much, Mark Levin, for making it so clear what Van Hollen is thinking, which is really to deny Jewish rights in our ancestral homeland, in the heartland of the Holy Land. That is the slogan I want you to remember today. We could call it West Bank, but that's a lie. We could call it Judea and Samaria. That's a little of a mouthful. Really, in ancient times, it was just known as Judea. But I think today I want you to consider calling it the heartland of the Holy Land. It's a mountain range that runs from Beersheba to the Jezreel Valley. It is where the majority of the Bible took place. It is the heartland cities of Bethel and Hebron and Shechem, and of course, the heart of it all, Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. And when we clear it from all these doubts, and when Israel asserts sovereignty, when Israel gives decency and opportunity to pro-Israel folks that live amongst us, then we're going to have an amazing light. God says, just make me a small space in this world. Just clean out one small space in this world from idolatry, from Israel hate. Give me a small space so that I could shine my light to the whole world, because my house is going to be a house of prayer for all nations. So God bless you, folks. If you're part of the nations that love Israel, if you're part of the Jewish people, let's stand strong with Israel. And when we stand strong with Israel, we fight for Israel. Please join me at fightforisrael.org to support our broadcasting of news, of truth, of courage, and of Torah throughout the world. So be part of that, fightforisrael.org, and you could be somebody that goes to sleep at night knowing that they're a fighter for Israel. Join me there. Also, if you love what we do here, please buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. It's very easy. It's very tasty, spiritually, physically, and it gives us support to continue broadcasting the land of Israel. And you can write me an email, yishai@yishaifleischer.com. Thank you so much for being with me, and I bless you. I send you goodness from the land of goodness and blessings from the land of blessings, and may God's face shine upon you and be part of your life. God bless you wherever you are. Stay tuned, stay strong, stay connected, and shalom.